Former President Grímsson, Excellencies, Ministers, dear guests, welcome, and a special welcome to our guests from abroad. You know, there was a time, decades ago, when Iceland had just recently regained its independence, that we would ask practically all visitors to this island, this important question: how do you like Iceland? And woe to those who did not answer, yes, I love it, I like it. There was a small sense of inferiority complex in this question, because we were recently independent, not sure whether we could make it on the international scene. Today, we do not have to ask all and sundry this question. Well, to begin with, we cannot. There's just so many of you. We are enjoying a tremendous tourist boom, and long may it continue. You're always welcome to Iceland. But we have grown in confidence. We do not need to hear day in, day out that our dear guests actually love Iceland. But I still hope you do. I still hope you do. But this conference is testimony to the fact that we may be small, but we can play a role on the big stage. So I'm particularly pleased to welcome you here to the Arctic Circle. Another example would, of course, be the tremendous success of our sports persons. The women's soccer team in the summer and the men's team is going to the World Cup finals in Russia next year. We may be small again, but bigger nations, they're not going to be there. Some of them, I won't mention any names. So again, welcome to you all. Welcome til Íslands, welcome to Iceland, and welcome to the Arctic Circle, today's primary forum for discussion and debate about the Arctic region. In the next few days, we may mostly look northward, but at the same time, we will focus on vital matters that concern us all: climate change, the sustainable use of resources, viable living conditions in cold climates, respect for international law. Yes, we will listen, talk, and learn. Knowledge is the foundation of progress, ignorance a recipe for stagnation, and dialogue is the key for peace and stability. We must maintain and strengthen the respect for research and scientific methods, respect for expertise, and the unprejudiced exchange of ideas, information, and assumptions. Dear guests, there was a time when the far north was for us Icelanders a mystic scene, known as the frozen sea, the home of giants, trolls, and strange creatures. The Icelandic sagas, our early contribution to world literature, also contain tales of distant travels, of trade and battle in regions to the east of the Nordic world, as well as encounters with natives in lands we now call Greenland, Canada, and the United States. Can we believe these stories? Yes, of course. In Newfoundland, the ruins of Norse settlements prove the travels of Norse voyagers some 1,000 years ago. And near the Black Sea, we can read today Viking graffiti. Halfdan carved these ruins. We can easily assume that this Halfdan had brought with him from the north furs and walrus ivory. And speaking of walrus and our sagas and the high north, one of the most dominant settlers of Iceland was Geirmundur Heljarskin. He came from the northernmost regions of Norway, probably Inuit in appearance, known by some as the Black Viking. Geirmundur made his riches by trading in walrus skin ropes and walrus teeth, eiderdown and fish liver oil. His story is a fascinating one, so fascinating in fact that Paramount Pictures are going to produce a massive TV series about him. That's great, but what can his story tell us here at the Arctic Circle? First, that in the past, the high north and its inhabitants were alien, outsiders in the eyes of their Nordic neighbors. The composers of our medieval tales did not write at length about Geirmundur. He did not fit in the image which they wanted to create. But today, the indigenous people of the Arctic cannot be seen as outsiders. In the era of ever-increasing globalization and interdependence, nobody should be seen as an outsider. Secondly, Geirmundur's tale is one of over-exploitation. He sent his team of slaves from one side to another, as did other chieftains at that time, thus draining the walrus stock. In our times, this story can therefore serve as a warning. Yes, we should seek ways to utilize natural resources, but sustainability is vital. And the long-term interests of the indigenous populations should be paramount. Our problems really began when other people began to have an interest in our region, is a phrase I once heard. Dear friends, let us keep those precautionary words in mind when we look towards a bright future for the Arctic. Let us be daring and ambitious, but cautious and humble as well. Humble in the face of nature, which we must preserve and protect. Cautious because our actions can have irreversible consequences. And finally, let us all have a fruitful conference, a friendly encounter, a true meeting of free minds. Thank you very much. Good luck.